Good morning, kids. After not streaming for 2 mornings, here we are. Another episode of the Abyss AM edition. Coffee, caffeine, and news. I hope you got your coffee. I got mine. Mine's popping hot, so I'm going to wait for it to cool down just a little bit. I'm your host, the Eternal Abyss. How's everybody doing? I hope everyone's making good preparations for the 4th of July. Whether you just stick to your backyard, or if you're shocked to find out Vanilla Ice is still a thing and plans on performing in Texas. That's what's happening right now. You have to work. I am Z. How you doing? Hey, Hetero Alpha God. Hello, sir. Thank you, everyone who's listening on Bitwave. Hi, everybody on Bitwave. Hello. Hello, everyone on YouTube, if there's anybody listening there. Hello, everybody on Periscope, if there's anybody listening there. And hello on DLive, if there's anybody listening there as well. Oh, that's no fun that you have to work on the 4th of July. Come on. I know. I am just as shocked as you are about Vanilla Ice. I look at the trends and it's like Vanilla Ice is going to be performing a 4th of July show in Texas despite the spike in coronavirus numbers that we're seeing in Texas right now. And I was like, the big news to me isn't so much everything after the first two words, that Vanilla Ice is still something. I had no idea he was still performing. That's news to me. So good for him. I guess he's still performing. He's still out there doing his very odd thing. So good for him. Wow. That's all I can say. There we go. I have my restream chat up as well here, so I can actually see what's going on in the other channels. Of course, I'm trying to grow those other channels, so I invite everyone to share and follow and subscribe before we get into the meat and potatoes of the show here. Please, on YouTube and on DLive and on Periscope, subscribe, follow, do what you gotta do, share the good word. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's fortunate to anyone who has a job right now. I say it's a good thing. You're fortunate. Many don't, but there's good news on the horizon when it comes to that. That's another thing that I wanted to talk about today. The job numbers came out. 4.8 million jobs in June. Yeah. So numbers are coming back up. The expected number was about 3.7 million, and it seems like it got blown out of the water by 1.1 mil. So there you go. The Trump economy seems to be returning. And I've mentioned this in my other streams that there's these burning embers of an economy, like underneath the rubble of all that is happening right now with COVID and this socialist revolution that's basically gripping parts of our nation. I think it's a bit overblown in the sense that I don't think it's a whole. I mean, on one side it kind of is, but on the other side, it's not like a revolution that you would find in the history books, like a real game-changing kind of revolution where it actually topples governments and changes leadership, changes forms of governments, things like that. This isn't going to be Cuba. This isn't going to be the French Revolution. This is going to be a bunch of spoiled punk kids who are going to learn some life lessons. And they're going to realize that all the garbage that their professors taught them at university is essentially that garbage. They're going to learn that relatively soon. The only problem is that you have politicians and you have the media that's encouraging this behavior, and you have academia that's encouraging it too, because they've been instilling kids with idiotic ideologies for a long time. Long time. This is stuff that's been happening since the 60s. This isn't anything new. But it's coming to pace here. I mean, now is when things are starting to really happen, and that all that foundation that these people put down, infiltrating Hollywood and entertainment, infiltrating academia, infiltrating politics, infiltrating every aspect of access to young and impressionable minds, like the libraries, you know, things of that nature. So there's a lot of stuff that's been going on when it comes to this sort of indoctrination, this socialist indoctrination that you know, this is the result. You have a bunch of people who are purely ignorant of American history, purely ignorant of what political ideologies are, like what socialism really is, versus a constitutional republic like we are, a democracy of sorts, uh, versus a parliamentary republic like you have in many countries of Europe, which is also democratic to an extent. And then you have the weird outliers that are like other forms of governments there, which I would even consider the UK a weird outlier, because they are a parliamentary republic, but they still have this sort of monarchy overseeing them. It's kind of a weird thing because they never got rid of the Queen. So the English are just basically maintaining the lifestyle of the rich and famous over there, which to me is stupid. I don't get that, but hey, whatever. Their choice. Um but I was looking at some of the current trends, some really big news actually. I saw this right now as I was starting. Let's see if I can bring this up. I saw a tweet. I gotta verify to see exactly what's going on with this, because I'm only hearing that it's breaking news, and I don't even know if I've seen it on like the big news media outlets here. I would imagine it would be big news, but I'm not sure I'm seeing it. Oh nope, it's actually here. I do see it on like Fox News, and let's see. It should be on CNN as well, I imagine. Let me check. Yes, indeed. So, yeah, seems like it's legit news here that Jeffrey Epstein's confidant, Ghislaine Maxwell, is arrested. I'm a little shocked that the FBI arrested her. Honestly, I didn't think they were gonna, like, because everybody knows Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. Obvious. I thought that somehow she was gonna kind of skirt out of it, but hey, there you go. There you go. There it is. So let me see if I can bring up a little bit of news, like what exactly went down here. So she was arrested in New Hampshire Thursday morning. The FBI confirmed Epstein's former girlfriend, accused Madam, was taken into custody at 8:30 a.m. and the charges against her are currently sealed. So we don't know exactly what the charges are, but there's a lot of like rumor and speculation about what she did. That's why everybody refers to her as Epstein's Madam. Um, she's been accused of accused in civil court filings of facilitating a sex trafficking operation that brought girls, some as young as 14, to Epstein's Manhattan home. Though until Thursday, she had not been formally charged with any criminal wrongdoing. There's also reports that there are several others who, quote, facilitated Epstein's alleged sexual abuse, who are also being investigated. The main focus has been on Maxwell, because she seems to be like, she's in a million photos. She seems to be pretty much the right-hand person of Epstein. Maxwell also dated Epstein more than a decade ago, became a member of his tight inner circle until his August 10th GSL suicide, quote-unquote suicide. They don't put that in quotes in the article, though. Earlier this year. By the way, Epstein didn't kill himself. In 2003 Vanity Fair article, Epstein referred to Maxwell as his, quote, best friend. So, yeah, this is breaking news. This happened this morning, 8:30. And how much do you want to bet that they didn't go in guns a-blazing? Like they did with Roger Stone. I'm just, willing to put some money on that almost. Because it wouldn't surprise me. A person who allegedly, let's, use the proper terminology, allegedly trafficked, did human trafficking and exploited minors, and enabled a prolific, alleged, quote-unquote, pedophile and sexual abuser and rapist, really. They're probably handling her with dainty gloves. Gonna sip some coffee here. Okay. So yeah, that's like amazing news right now. Hopefully she won't end up suiciding somehow. And the one thing that I can say is I bet this is making a lot of people nervous right now. A lot of people nervous. Oh, by the way, going back to the unemployment numbers, I wanted to mention one more thing. Apart from 4.8 million jobs added in June, unemployment fell to 11.1%. So the numbers are really, really, really good. Really good. That's great news for Americans in general. So that's pretty amazing. Two like really big stories already just coming out early this morning. I have a bunch of other stuff that I want to try and get to. I don't think I'm going to be able to get to every single thing unless I kind of do a cursory thing. Because the past 2 days I had several things happening in the morning. I wasn't able to do my stream, so I'm gonna try and play catch up here as well. But I want to focus on like the trends of the day here. There's some trend happening right now. That has to do with Mark Zuckerberg. He's trending. I am not entirely sure. I haven't looked at the trend to see what exactly is happening here. Oh, that's what's happening. So yeah, I've noticed this in the past couple days. So what's been going on is like Facebook is actually actively going after companies. Well, not going after companies. There's been this big push of companies to boycott Facebook. And it seems like he's pretty convinced that the advertisers will be back. on Facebook. I think Facebook took a pretty big hit in the market as well recently. Social media is really not doing well. Like, I'm speaking like optics, really. Facebook in general has really, really gotten a rotten deal out of all of this whole social media hoopla, in the sense that, and I'm not saying this as because I have any sort of sympathy for Facebook. I don't. And to me, if Facebook were to just disappear, I wouldn't cry one bit about it. It wouldn't bother me one bit. I think Facebook is a horrible platform. But the thing about Facebook compared to like the other social media platforms, the left has gone after Facebook in a particular way, because they feel, and this is the funniest part, before the 2016 election, I never heard one person particularly complain, especially when it comes to politics on the left, complain about Facebook. Nobody had a beef with it. Trump won in 2016, and now all of a sudden, because things came out about what Facebook was doing during the election, where you had this alleged Russian thing, which most of it turned out to be baloney, but there are some inklings of truth within all the media BS regarding Russia. Was that advertisers were using Facebook, like there were some Russian trolls that were using Facebook to push political ads, as well as just your regular political ads. You had political ads that were legitimate political ads all over the place on Facebook. It became, I mean, Facebook is very much a political platform during elections, more so than any other platform. So what ends up happening is their candidate loses, and now Facebook is the big evil. It's Facebook's fault. And there may be some debate regarding that, where Facebook and social media in general, not just Facebook, social media in general has been an influencer in public opinion, has been an influencer in how people get their news. I mean, I can just tell you myself, my show, I just look at the trends and look at the news items, look at news websites and news aggregators and things like that to get myself up to speed on what's going on. And half the time, Twitter trends are quicker than the actual legitimate news sources. However, that comes with a price. Highly inaccurate. For example, there is a trend that started yesterday that I've been observing. It started out with the trend Auburn Hills, because there's a city in Michigan called Auburn Hills, and apparently there was some altercation between a white couple, particularly a white woman, and a black woman. There was some altercation. Both claimed that one assaulted the other. The white woman was saying that the black woman hit her car with her hand. The black woman said that the white woman tried to run her over. Now, the altercation escalated to the point where the white woman pulled out a gun. And there's video of this woman with the gun pointed at the screen, because she's being recorded. And you just hear them arguing. Now, the reason I bring this up is because it talks about, that's when it really keys in on the high level of inaccuracy, but it also keys in on the high level of crap and vile and toxicity that you find on social media. Because, first of all, it didn't happen in Auburn Hills. That's the first thing. It happened in another county and another city. It happened in, if I'm not mistaken, it was Orion Township, which is also in Michigan. Like everybody was hammering the Auburn, whatever, city there, Auburn Hills, police department, saying, oh, call Auburn Hills, tell them, that they gotta arrest this woman, and then blah blah blah, and the Auburn Hills Police Department has a Twitter account. They posted like, yeah, this didn't happen here. Like it's not our jurisdiction. it didn't happen in our area here. It happened in another area. So that just goes to show you how ridiculous things can be, that people just have this regurgitation of whatever their most vile feelings are, an emotional response to something on social media. Another thing that, really came out of this was that both people were claiming they were in the right in the recording. Now, there's room for debate whether it was appropriate for her to pull a gun or not. But for everyone saying off the bat that the white woman was racist because she pulled a gun on black people, or that the white woman was obviously in the wrong, I'm sorry, you're letting your own prejudices and bigotry lead you by the nose. There was nothing in the video that indicated that she was racially motivated. They were arguing over an altercation that happened about property, their car. Actually, let's see if I can bring up the video, because I had it up at one point. I'm gonna see here. Yes, I got it. And you have all these people that, like I said, there's all these people that are just spewing this vile crap. And the best part is that they're all wrong. That's the thing. They're speaking out of ignorance because they don't know what happened in this scenario. They only see this specific point of the altercation. The main point that initiated this, nobody saw. There's no video about it. So let me see if I can bring this up here. Let's see if I don't boomer it up, ladies and gentlemen, here. Because again, with me, there's always that possibility. Let me bring up just this tweet specifically. Let's make my life a little easier if I can. Provided this will work. Sometimes the software decides it wants to do its own thing. Okay. Sorry about the silence. Just want to make sure that I gotta pause the video because it automatically plays. Whoa, that was freaking loud. Okay. I don't know if I have my sound turned on. That's the other thing. I gotta make sure I have my sound turned on for you guys. There we go. So, yeah, volume warning. If you have your volume high, the lady screams a lot. So, let me adjust that really quickly because these videos are a little. Oh, of course, the sign up thing is blocking everything. All right, no problems. Forget it. We'll just deal with what we got for now. All right, so here's the video. Oh, what's going on? Why is that locked? There we go. So let me see if I can. Come on. Won't let me. Well, we'll just go through it.
They both pointed that gun on me. He was trying to hit me with the car when I was going back. You seen that? And then when I hit his car, he wanted to jump out the car and put a gun on me. That is crazy. Trump making it real comfortable. Call the police. No, don't go anywhere. Call the police. 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 You about to hit me with the car. Yo, these motherfuckers trying to hit me. And they pull a gun out on me. Move out the way. Yeah, I got it.
I'll play it from the beginning here.
Get away. She got the gun on me. He about to hit me with the car. Call him. I'm telling. Get the license plate. Get the license plate. Get the license plate now. Because you were never about to hit me with the damn car. You about to hit me with the car? You fucking both of y'all put the guns on me, okay? Call Richard back up to the police. Call Richard back up here now.
I got it. Don't you fucking jump behind the car.
No, I ain't jumping behind your car. I was walking. Your husband was hitting me.
Get the fuck back!
Do you see that? Do you see that? They both pointed that gun on me. He was trying to hit me with the car when I was going back. You seen that? And then when I hit his car, he wanted to jump out the car and put a gun on me. That is crazy. Trump making it real comfortable. Call the police. No, don't go anywhere. Call the police. Call the police. Call the police. Call the police.
All right. So there's the video. Like I said, both are claiming wrongdoing here. The people in the minivan are saying that the lady jumped in front of the car. And the black lady is saying that they're the white couple are at fault because they almost ran her over. And she also actually admits in the video that she actually did hit the vehicle, which you can't really do. You can't damage other people's property, okay? But the thing is this. It's her word against her word. It's one party against the other party. We don't know the details. And they even got the location wrong. All these tweets, everybody's talking about it, they're all absolutely in the wrong. And this is a good indication of like how much garbage social media can be if you're trying to get your news source from that. And I will say one thing about this, until proven otherwise. There's no evidence that there's anything racist involved in this. There's no indication that that was any sort of factor in this sort of thing. So everybody calling that woman racist just because she pulled the gun on a black woman, guess what? You're the racist. You're the one that has the prejudices. You're the one that's the bigot. If your assumption is merely based off of skin color in an altercation, that the assumption is that one person has to be the racist just because the person with the gun happens to have a certain skin tone versus the other, that makes you the racist. I'm sorry. No more, no less. And apparently they did arrest this woman who bore the gun there, who was holding the gun and brandished it, and they let her go. So I would imagine that they, pending the investigation and an actual release of this information, so far that this is what's gone down, is just an altercation between two people in a parking lot. And once the investigation happens, I mean, if they let her go, I can only assume that the police didn't see anything inappropriate. But this is also the problem of the climate of the times that we live in. I mean, things are being escalated all over the place. People are feeling very anxious. You have the media vilifying anyone and anything that doesn't agree with their political ideology. People are going to be on edge, and you're going to see more of this sort of thing. Not only because it's going to happen more, because people are going to be recording this stuff more. They're going to be posting it more. You're just going to see more and more of it. Hey, Brev. Thank you for watching on YouTube. How you doing? Hello, War Zero. Thank you for watching. What is my stance on Soylent? There are chatters that depend on it to get through the day. Do you drink it? Um, well, for those that may not know, you're talking about that supplement, like that drink, not the movie Soylent Green, but that soy-based protein kind of drink, right? Um, no, I don't drink that. I don't drink that. I'm not a fan of soy. SQ question. I'm not sure what the SQ what's SQ question means. So, but what I was saying regarding these sort of situations is more people are going to be recording this stuff. You're gonna see it more on social media because you have people with an agenda, and the media has this agenda as well because they push this sort of stuff. And that's kind of what I mean about how garbage social media is. Oh, Soylent question. No, I'm not a soy boy. I don't drink soy. I don't like that stuff. If I want protein, I'll get protein from sources that are way better in my opinion for that. I do know some people who do drink that, or at least in the past I knew people who drink that. Um Particularly I knew someone with diabetes who drank that because it helped him it helped him manage his numbers, his sugar numbers, because he knew exactly how much sugar and how much whatever was in that drink. So it made it very easy for him to do that. So in his case, I mean, if that works for him, great. If it doesn't, for most people, like I don't drink soy drinks. I have no problem with just like drinking milk if I really want to drink milk, but I'm not a big milk fan anyways. So, well, you may claim that Warzone. I am not a soy boy. I'm not a soy drinker. I'm not a hipster. I find all these people that, this generation of pansies, really, let's just call it for what it is. I find it somewhat disgusting. Milk is for Nazis. Well, if it is or not, I don't know. Like I said, I don't even drink milk that much, so. But moving on to other news items. There's this other news item here that's trending. You can't have both, or you can have both. There's this whole claim, the New York Times saying you can have a kid or a job, you can't have both, especially in this COVID economy. I'm sorry. I don't agree with that. Now, I understand the difficulties of parenting, working, and managing a household, doing everything at the same time. I completely understand that. But this is the one of the big problems. You can have both, in my opinion, actually. You're misquoting me. It's not easy. But especially in this economy now that we have, and how COVID has really shown that a good percentile of work that exists can be remote. Many parents, at least one parent in a household, can stay home, work, raise a child, and supervise homeschooling at the same time if you want to do homeschooling. So, an article like this, it's the New York Times, so it doesn't surprise me that they publish garbage because that's what they do. I don't agree with universal anything. First of all, like this article is basically pushing for universal health care. So yeah, so you want your children to be under the care of government 24/7? No, absolutely not. It's already bad enough what children have been subjected to in public schooling. It's already bad enough the indoctrination that students have had from elementary school all the way to a 4-year degree. You want to tell me that this is their idea? And these people that are claiming that they've been struggling, even working from home with kids. I personally know people who have raised children by themselves, single parents, multiple children, not just one child, multiple children, and they managed somehow. They made sacrifices, sure, but that's what parents do. This to me, this to me is an indication is again a big problem in society where parents don't want to act as parents anymore. You have parents that want to relegate that responsibility and delegate it away to someone else. They don't want to be the parents. And if anything, with COVID, if anything, it has shown that you can actually do more. You can be at home. You can monitor what your kids are doing. You can homeschool. Many people that complained about homeschooling said, "Oh, homeschool, you can't do that. You can't homeschool everybody." Oh, guess what? You can. If you have the right incentive, if you have the right motivation. I think that homeschooling, first of all, statistically speaking, homeschooling, you do get a better education, a better quality of education, generally speaking. People that are homeschooled have a higher reading, writing, math level than people in public school. Private schools have a better level of education when it comes to public, like versus public school. Public school generally is probably the worst in terms of outcome. You really don't get good results in public school, and it doesn't really matter what public school you go to. Like even amongst public schools, you have different levels of you have different levels of quality that comes out of it, right? You get different levels of results. But even amongst that variability of public schooling, private schools already do way better. They have better facilities, better educators, arguably, better quality of education, and then homeschooling generally is much more advanced, anyways, because you can actually control far more like how these students learn, and you can custom. And this is the key, in my opinion. The key factor here when it comes to how good of an education a student gets isn't to me so much the facilities, the money, um, location. Though all those can play a factor. I'm not discounting any factor, but there's one major factor to me that public schooling generally ignores. Public schooling has never really focused on individual learning capabilities. Yeah, MZ, I talked about that at the beginning of the stream that Ghislaine Maxwell was arrested. I don't know. I'm gonna call it early in case it does happen. Ghislaine Maxwell didn't kill herself. Well, see, from my experience, I've not to go too much into my own history because I don't wanna talk about the stream isn't really about me. Um, but I can speak anecdotally. I've lived in different countries, I've lived in different states, I've lived in different cities here in the United States. And oh, no worry, MZ, no problem. I'm just glad that you're in when you're in, and you know, do what you got to do. No worries. I appreciate you any moments you can to listen in here. But from my own anecdotal experience, and I admit it's anecdotal. I've been in different schools in different areas where some were more affluent, some were less affluent, some were in a completely different country, some were here in the United States, and what I've observed as someone who went through that system is that generally speaking, even though there are differences between different public schools, some are better, some are worse, overall, there's no focus on individual students in the sense that every person has their own learning pace and way of learning. I am international. I'm like Pitbull. He always talks about like international, woo, something like that. Anyway, yes. Welcome to the show. Poor attempts at humor. Moving on. What I was saying is like I'm an autodidact, for example. I learn best when left alone. Lectures in a classroom don't really do much for me. Versus there are other people that is really the best way for them to learn. And there's other people that are like more visual learners, while others don't really need too much visual. They can just study the theory, and they're like very much more academically minded, while others have a more like practical hands-on requirement in their way of learning. The structure of how school is homo detected. Thank you, Chillwave. But what I'm saying is that the way school systems are set up, they have been mostly just they categorize students just by age. If you're a certain age, you go in a certain grade. It doesn't really look at level of cognitive ability these students have, what kind of learning methodology works best for them. And you can only go as fast as the slowest person in that classroom. So that creates kind of a perfect storm where people who can excel are held back. People that require more assistance don't really get that assistance that they require because the teacher, I mean, if you have a class of 30 people, you can't really focus as much on those that require it more because you have to keep moving on with the lessons. So you have to move slow for the slowest person in the class, but you can't really move quickly ahead as either. So the pacing gets all wrong. Then let's not even get started with the different kind of social hierarchies that exist within just student ranks where you have the jocks versus the nerds versus the goths versus the hipsters versus the whatever, you know. It becomes, public schooling becomes a mess. And there has never been a proper solution, at least in my book. There has not been a proper solution that really addressed all these issues, because in my opinion on this is kind of, I guess you can label it as somewhat extreme, because to me it requires a complete, no, I was not a goth, I don't paint my nails. No. Deep lore. No, and plus I was never pale enough to be a goth. You know, it didn't quite work out. I like the sun. I always tell people I'm solar powered. I like the sun. So it wouldn't work for me to be goth. But the thing is that that what I'm saying is, you know, aside from the chat interruption, which keep it coming, don't mind. I enjoy the interaction. Don't get me wrong. But what I'm saying is that school, generally speaking, I feel that the structure is like wrong on. Yeah, that's right. That's right. I was never pale enough. Even the goths excluded me. Yes, very much so. I was a nerd. I was very much. I mean, I went into computer science as my degree, so that just goes to show you exactly what category I belong in. But I would feel that the entire education system needs a huge overhaul. And honestly, homeschooling to me is one of the best solutions throughout history. Actually, throughout history, the people that have gotten the best educations in time have been self-taught, been in school. No, I didn't go that far. I didn't go that far to have pocket protectors because I never carried pens in my pockets that way. So I never went that far. And I never had glasses either. I never required glasses when I was young. I was a nerd. I was. Yes, Warzone. Oh, War Zero, I'm sorry. Yeah, the truth has finally come out. I'm doxxed as a nerd. It's, it is what it is. But there are a few other things I wanted to kind of touch base on these past 2 days that I haven't been around. So let's kind of power through these. So going back to how much garbage. I am not ashamed of that, troll. I am not ashamed to say that I played D&D. I enjoy it. Dungeons and Dragons can be very fun. I never did. No, I never did went that far. Just that I was into somewhat nerdy stuff like computers, programming, math, things like that. Yeah, it's because homeschooling is making it harder. This is what it is. When it comes to homeschooling, you have to use online platforms. Online platforms generally, by policy, do a lot of quality control and recording, which means that teachers are being monitored now. Teachers are being recorded. Maybe not every lesson is being recorded, but they can be recorded, and they can and what they say can be used against them. Exactly. That's correct, Showwave. You can't program your kid if you're homeschooling. So that's really, really what it boils down to, in my opinion. And I feel that even if schools reopen, and which they will, it's just a matter of time. That they're really, homeschooling is different from doing school at home. How so, troll? What's the distinction? drinking some more of my coffee. While I'm waiting on Troll's response here, let me take a brief moment to do some shameless self-promotion. Follow me on all my social media accounts: Twitter, Gab, Parler, Minds. I am The Eternal Abyss on all of them. The Eternal Abyss with one S on Twitter because someone stole my handle. And it's an unused account, but unfortunately I can't get it because Twitter doesn't even have a process for that. They're garbage. But follow me on all that, all the social media, and make sure you do, because that's how you know if I'm going to be able to stream or not. I usually make announcements. I rant and rave online, which can be entertaining for a few folks out there, I assume. So, and I'm trying to also fight against Twitter's and social media's Gestapo tactics of censorship. Also, you want to make sure you follow me on YouTube, on Periscope, on DLive, and on Bitwave. Subscribe and follow, and hit that little notification bell, because especially on YouTube, subscribing means nothing. And you need to make sure you hit that notification bell to get notified when I go live, which I try to go live as much as possible here right now. I'm trying to do a daily show, and tonight is the weekly stream of The Abyss. Don't miss that. We're going to have a little bit of fun, more interaction. I am interacting a bit with chat right now, but that one is even more so. People can call in if they want. My only request is be nice. Don't make me get banned on different platforms. That's the only thing. So going back here, and also if you want to support me, actually, really quickly, if you want to support people like myself, conservatives that are being just shut down, just look what happened on Twitch, and Reddit, and this whole coordinated censorship that's happening. Don't tell me it's not coordinated. It's coordinated. You had Reddit and Twitch blocking a bunch of pro-Trump and conservatives all at once. Especially in Reddit, the Donald was one of the ones that got cut. Twitch blocked Trump's account on Twitch. Obvious censorship. So you need to support conservatives, and if you want to support me, streamlabs.com/theeternalabyss. Any level of generosity is greatly appreciated. So going back to the question here, Troll CC66 was saying that homeschooling is different from doing school at home, and I ask, how so? Let's see. He says, doing school at home is what all the schools are doing because they are closed for COVID. Homeschooling, you are free to learn the best way you learn. Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I do agree with that. In fact, the thing that really is stupid about the education system is that it's pretty useless. Once you get a college degree and you get a job, really, you need to learn everything again on the job. Everything that you learned in academia, from elementary school to university. I mean, sure, you have basic reading, writing, and mathematics skills. Fine. I'm not arguing that. But anything that you actually do, that you train for your job, you don't really learn anything. You pretty much learn on the job. Hi, Ambassador of Chat. What's the point of calling into show if you can't call the host an N-word? Well, I mean, you can. The only problem is like, one, it doesn't really contribute much to the discussion, and two, you do risk on making me lose my show, and then you won't have a show to call in and call the host dirty names. So, Troll is also continuing to answer the question. You can go places and learn, like learning about the Constitution from the Constitution Center and the landmarks in Philly. Absolutely right. I actually totally agree with that. I feel that you can have a much more comprehensive education if you do homeschooling. Because one, you can cater, like if I'm a parent and I have a child, you can cater to your child's method of learning. If your child, like if, let's say I have a child and they're like me, that they're an autodidact. They don't really require a lot of Socratic method and long lectures and soapboxing and visual aids. They just pick up a book, read it, learn it. Then what is the point of going to school, for example, for that? Or if they are someone that requires a lot more visual aids, and they require and bringing them out into the world, things of that nature. Go bringing them to the Constitution Center. Like honestly, when I was in public school, one of the best things for me actually, I loved field trips. Hey, Spook. Sorry, drinking some more coffee here. I don't agree with that, Patrick VDH. Hi, welcome to the stream, by the way. No, I don't agree that autodidact means automoron. You know, some people are self-learners. Some people they excel in without having to listen to lectures and professors just bloviate over nonsense. Most of the time, especially when it comes to technical subject matter, like if like the subject matter that I studied, for the most part, was mostly, you know, programming, mathematics, things of that nature. I'm loving the zero quotes throughout my stream, and they're pretty hilarious. But when it comes to these sort of things, it's not difficult to learn this stuff. I use this racist language on stream. Based. This is well. There's truth to that too, Spooky. Spook. There's a lot of disparity in how things are taught because there's a perceived in like there's this perception of trying to rectify an imbalance. And it's true, boys don't learn the way schools teach. Boys have a harder time, generally speaking. This has been this way for a long time. Boys do have a harder time learning in school because that's not how boys learn. And girls do better because it's focused more on trying to get girls to go into like all this different kind of stuff. Hey, Dispatch. Welcome to the stream. So, yeah, I feel, you know, my philosophy is that if I had kids, I would homeschool them, and I would actually really cater to making their education far more advanced than what school can offer. I'm not being sexist. There's nothing sexist about pointing out reality. Drinking some more coffee here. So, like I mentioned, because I was gone for those 2 days, I had things happening in the morning. Well, I think school choice is really the thing there, Spook. Like you're saying, it's easier said than done, but at least good religious private school is a must. Private school is throwing your kids to the wolves. I think you meant public school is throwing kids to, yeah, public school is throwing kids to the wolves. Some parents don't have the option, unfortunately. Well, I'm being too aggressive, or who Dispatch? Are you talking to me or are you talking to Zero? I never said there's nothing. Oh boy. Oh gosh, Ambassador Chat. Jeez, I don't know about that. I'm sure there's some, but I don't know. But anyways, the point is that I think that I think that homeschooling actually opens up opportunities for people that don't have the opportunity for private school. For example, it's true. Like not everybody can partake in private school. Tuitions can be very high. logistically, sometimes the locations aren't super convenient for where you want to go, things of that nature. So I can understand that. I mean, I'm not saying that there's an easy solution to this, but I do think that if anything, COVID has really opened up the eyes of people that the choices are out there. There are a lot of options. Get out of here. By the way, hi, Pointless Gamer. Really? One of your teachers was caught masturbating in one of the classrooms? Get out. That's disgusting. That's just wow. I don't even know how to respond to that. Florida? Of course. Well, I'm sure he got kicked out because of that. That wouldn't surprise me. That's entirely inappropriate. And that is true as well, Troll. That is definitely true. Homeschooling. That's why I'm saying I understand that it's not an option for everybody, but I do believe that with this whole COVID thing, I think many people can come to the realization that a lot more jobs can be remote. A lot more schooling can be homeschool. A lot of parents can focus more on being parents as well as being providers. I think that there's a big problem in society where parents feel that the responsibility of being a parent only lies in that of being a provider and not being a parent. I've seen many arguments, and debates online about this where people say, "Well, I feed my kid, I clothe my kid, I'm a good parent." I was like, "Well, yeah, that's you're doing the minimum. Feeding, clothing, shelter, that's the minimum you can do for a child. You do that for a pet. With a child, things you have to do extra stuff. You have to provide morality. You have to provide an education. You have to provide a stable environment." Ask away, dispatch. Site owner, dispatch, has a question. Let's see what it is. Just drinking my coffee while I'm waiting. Pardon me. This checkout has a dependency child for tax purposes too. um, I'm not a financial advisor, so I can't give you a concrete answer, sir. But what I can tell you is this: if you can get away with that, kudos to you, sir. That's all I'm gonna say. If you have an accountant that can pull that off, you will have you hold on to that accountant because that person is a wizard. I will tell you that much. Go for it, my man. Go. No, you don't have to spend 24/7. I'm not saying that parents have to stalk their children or be helicopter parents. I think that there's a balance to be struck. There has to be a balance, and I feel that um, it could go bad either way. It could definitely go bad either way. There are parents out there that are overprotective. I've witnessed that too. And again, I know I'm speaking a lot of stuff here that a lot of stuff that I'm speaking about is very anecdotal. I'm not really providing a lot of hard data to back up what I'm saying. I get that. But there's truth to it. That's the thing. I've witnessed it myself, and I've seen parents that were helicopter parents way too much. way too much, trying to control every single aspect of a child's life. And on the other side, I've seen parents that didn't even, like, pretty much didn't give a rat's ass about their kids, barely did the bare minimum, just threw the kids into the public system and said, you know what, I don't want to deal with it. Because I want to live my own life. I got to work. I got to do my own thing. I understand like how both extremes can be harmful. That's why to me it's about a balance. A balance needs to be struck. So, as statistically speaking, there are studies and statistics out there. Yeah, they did. They very much did zero. They cared enough. So, really what it boils down to is that, in my opinion, it's just that there has to be a balance. There are options out there. If anything, COVID has shown that these options exist, and people have to find, according to their situation and career choices and everything, they have to find the right balance. And then again, every kid is different. Like I said, some kids do excel with a more hands-off approach, while others require a bit more hands-on, and they learn in different ways. They have different interests as well. So if you have someone who's going into a more technical field, there's different things to consider when teaching them that stuff. And if someone's going into more art, is it going on right now? The Trump's press conference? Because I know he's going to talk about the job numbers. I don't think COVID is a positive force, but I think that I'm of the philosophy, which very much is in line with Catholic philosophy, that anything that happens, something good can be brought from it. No matter how bad a situation is, something positive could always be taken from a negative. And people call me pessimistic, but I'm not. That's the funny thing. In the past, I've been called pessimistic, but I'm not pessimistic. I'm a realist. I'm realistic about the world. I'm very pragmatic. Maybe I'm over pragmatic sometimes. Maybe I'm over analytical sometimes. But I do feel that there is some positivity to be taken. I didn't say COVID was a positive force. Yeah, I talked about that, troll, at the very beginning of the stream. That is an accurate quote. Something positive can always be taken from a negative. Excuse me. I'm now Leo's enemy. Who's Leo? What is what real? What are you talking about, Spooks? Oh, that Maxwell got arrested? Yes, sir, Spooks. That happened at 8:30 this morning. Ghislaine Maxwell got arrested. So, I early on at the beginning of the stream, and I'm gonna repeat it again. Ghislaine Maxwell didn't kill herself. I'm trying to get it in there early. Get in the trend early. Oh, Leo Pirate? Yeah, well, I don't care. He's entitled to his opinion, even if it's a wrong one. So, so I don't mind. It's up to him. Yeah, I had some slight interactions with Leo before. How long has he been on the site? He seems like a relatively newer person. It's a bit way back because I haven't seen him before. But you guys are sidetracking me. I have a little list of things I want to talk about from the past 2 days that I haven't streamed. So let me get to that. We're gonna do that right now. We're gonna kind of do a little power through here. I've heard that argument before. Yeah, and I think he's mentioned that he doesn't have an issue with individual Catholics, but rather the institution. And to me, that's flawed logic, because if you actually study the history of the Catholic Church and the institution, if you learn more about it, you realize that the institution, where it has flaws, it does have its flaws. The core teachings and the benefits of the church throughout history are innumerable. And To just have this that's anti-clericalism. Really, it's anti-religion at the end of the day. No, Catholicism isn't evil. Catholicism, if you look at the teachings of the Catholic Church, they're not evil. Now, are there individuals that use the church? No, it's not by design. It's not by design. I can go into, like, we can do a stream. No, there's no debates in the morning streams. Maybe tonight we can talk about more about it. Hey, Power Word. Welcome to the stream. No, it's not by design. The core teachings of the church explicitly are not designed for that. I'm not going to debate in the morning show. I'll debate later. I'll do the evening weekly stream is more for interactions. Not in the morning. The morning is just news, coffee, and caffeine. In fact, I'm gonna drink a little bit more of my coffee. Excuse me. Listen, Spook. I'll just say this, and then I'll get back on track here. I have been listening to people attack Catholicism all my life. I've listened to all the arguments, over and over and over and over. I have been personally viciously attacked for the fact that I'm Catholic. So I'm not particularly interested in relitigating stuff that I've litigated in the past. I have. I've listened to many arguments, many different sides of the debate, and what it boils down to is that most of the time, 99.999% of the time when someone attacks Catholicism, there is a great level of ignorance or a lack of understanding of the theological and dogmatic teachings of the church. My religion is not evil. Okay? You're entitled to that opinion based off of information that you have, based off of all the studying and debating and research that I've done on the theology, on the history. I have not reached that conclusion. So, what are you talking about? I want to be included. I'm talking about what happened a couple days ago now. It is a flawed argument. Because first of all, if you have a problem with Catholicism, they're intertwined. You can't say you have a problem with an institution, but you don't have a problem with the people who follow it. Because by association, it's like I say, I have a problem with people who eat chicken or meat. But I don't have I have a problem, or vice versa. I say I have a problem with vegetarianism in general, but I don't care if people are vegetarians. That doesn't make any sense. I know, right, Ambassador of Chat? Those damn Catholics. No, what I'm doing right now is giving you a comparison. I'm giving you a example of your argument. You can call it a straw man, but it's the reality of what the argument is. Being Catholic is connected to Catholicism, believe it or not. Catholicism has undermined the Bible since its inception. No, it's actually defended the Bible since its inception. There have been sects that have been trying to undermine the Gospels and Catholic teaching from the very beginning. No, there really isn't, Power Word. The only big difference between a Catholic and the church itself is level of adherence. That's the only difference. If you claim to be Catholic, that means that you believe in the teachings of Catholicism, which involve the Catholic Church, because the magisterium of the Church, which is the holder of the dogma, that's what the magisterium is. They is the authority over the theology and dogma of the Gospels. Basically lay out the tenets of the Catholic Church. If you truly believe that you're on the same level of the higher, what do you mean the higher ups? Like the cardinals? Is that what you mean? That's not particularly true, Power Word. That's not the case. Vatican II may have had some problems, but Vatican II, that wasn't the result. No, it's not. Because if you think that there weren't any abuses in the church before Vatican II, you are living in a delusional state, my friend. That's what I mean about being ignorant about the history of the Catholic Church. Okay? So, we'll just leave it at that, because I told you I'm not going to do a debate in the morning show. No, it did not. Vatican II literally did not do that. Listen, if you want to have a Catholic stream, I can do that. But this isn't what this is about this morning. The morning shows is just about news and politics and just my soapboxing. Any institution where man is involved, there's always going to be corruption. That's really what it is. I don't know what you're talking about, Spook. You're making a connection where a connection doesn't exist. First of all, when it comes to culpability of sin, I am responsible for my own sins. I am not responsible for the sins of others. Well, if he wants to call him on my show, he can. No, I'm not. That's not a stance of the church. I'm saying logic dictates. If you do not agree with Catholicism as a religion, a philosophy, a theology, a dogma, an institution, then as a logical consequence, those that follow that religion, philosophy, theology, institution, it means that by nature you have to also disagree with their belief systems, which means, quote, you have a problem with it, whether you want to admit to it or not. Well, sure, there's higher ups that do bad things. Nobody's arguing that or against that. Nobody's arguing against that. Listen, in any institution. No, you're absolutely incorrect on this one, Spooks. Any institution where man is involved, when you have a hierarchy, any hierarchy, government, schools, corporations, organizations, even nonprofits, religions. Look at any religion. You're going to find corruption, even at all levels. There's corruption even at the lowest level. Your lowest priest, your diocesan priest that just does the mass in your little local area, that they don't leave the diocese, they just circle around different parishes. There's plenty of corruption in there too. So if you think that just because there's a hierarchy or there is an institution of the church and somehow that is more corrupt than anything on this planet, you're just sorely mistaken. They don't have a city-state with pedophilic laws. Well, that's true, but not every church has the history of the Catholic Church, where you can draw a direct line from present day all the way up to Jesus Christ. The Catholic Church is the only church that can really make that claim legitimately. The apostolic succession, which is the papacy, is the one that you can tie directly from Jesus all the way down to the present. Well, in a way, yes. The Pope is a representative in a way. That's where the infallibility of the Pope comes in. But the infallibility of the Pope is something that's many people misunderstand as well. Well, listen, popes can make mistakes. Popes, and that's what I'm talking about when it comes to the infallibility of the Pope. Popes are not infallible all the time. Popes can make mistakes. Popes can be corrupt. Popes can do some very bad, horrible things. Like I said, look at the history of the Catholic Church. If you actually studied the history of the Catholic Church, you would learn a lot. Well, you can troll. You can, but the thing is that there is the connection there. If you have a problem with Catholicism, then me as a Catholic, I perceive that as you having a problem with me because it's something that I believe in. I'm not a big fan of Pope Francis, I'm not gonna lie. But I think that there is a lot of media distortion that happens about what he says and does as well. I think there's a lot of issues going on with the church as well. I'm not saying that you would pillory all the followers, but I'm saying it doesn't. To me, there's no sense in saying I don't like this institution, therefore everybody that follows it are perfectly peachy keen. I mean, you may say that, but I don't agree that that is reality. I know exactly what Vatican II did and or undid. So no, there is a connection. There is a difference. I agree with that, Spook. There's a difference, but there's a connection. And just because you want to try and seem reasonable in your debating, it doesn't sever that connection. Power word, you don't know what you're talking about. Well, there we can find some common ground on Spooks. Sure, there's context. No, it's not. There are problems in the church. I wouldn't go as far to call it a heretical organization at this point. Well, see, the problem is this, Spook. This is the problem that lay people like myself have with what's going on with the church. Since we've derailed completely into a talk about the Catholic Church, we might as well wrap it up. No, they aren't. They aren't, power word. You don't know what you're talking about. You're just making yourself look like a fool. The problem that people like myself who are lay people who are not entrenched in or like not they're not involved in the way parishes are run is that there is a lot of disconnect actually between the Vatican and individual parishes on the ground. A lot of people like to think that the Vatican has absolute control over every single parish. They don't. And a person like myself, if they see problems in the church, be it just simple liturgical abuses, like they're just doing things wrong during mass, they're not following the formulas, they're doing ridiculous things, like back in the I think late 70s and early 80s, you had these polka masses, for example, which were completely against Catholic doctrine. They were heretical. That's a separate disconnect. I'm talking about administrative disconnect. Hey, hetero alpha god. Hey, better late than never, sir. I'm talking about an administrative disconnect because the Vatican cannot logistically run individual parishes that are on the ground. It's just logistically not something that can happen. So the authority is then relegated to different dioceses or archdioceses, and then the individual dioceses have to worry about that little region that they control. But the dioceses do answer to the Vatican, but they are also somewhat independent. There's a lot of factors that plays into decisions that they make because, for example, the geographic region of like a diocese in Africa or a diocese in Japan or a diocese in Spain versus a diocese in Texas or a diocese in California, a diocese in Kansas, they're all going to face different local challenges when it comes to their mission. Yeah, there's a lot of differences in beliefs of that kind, Ambassador of Chat. The Pope isn't okay with. I don't know if he's okay with homosexuality. I've never heard that. But the point is this: from an administrative point of view, there is this kind of hierarchy, and there is this kind of administrative delegation that happens just because of the logistics of running a global church. One single institution can't go down to the nitty-gritty and say, okay, you church in this little area, this little parish, you take care, you play this music during mass, you do these little things for your community, even though I have no idea because I'm so far away. No, I'm not talking about all Protestant religions with one broad brush. I'm just saying there's a lot of differences. So you guys, this is the problem with debating this sort of thing. That's the problem, is that you make a lot of assumptions about what I'm saying, and this has been the same thing whenever I debated religion in the past. People interpret things in their own fashion without listening to what I'm saying. I never said anything about painting Protestants in a broad stroke. You're interpreting things that way. All I'm saying is that from an administrative point of view, the church has to have this sort of hierarchical breakdown. It's just logistics. Well, the color red doesn't have the same implications as a whole belief system. Yeah, but just attacking directly what I've said doesn't make you right. I could attack anybody on what they say, but if what I'm saying, if what I'm attacking with is not based in reality, then I can attack all I want. I'm still going to be wrong. But as I was saying real quickly, as a layperson myself, if I see like liturgical abuses, I have to go through the different hierarchies. Then if I see something wrong and I want to try and fix something as an outsider going in, then yeah, I mean you are correct, Spooks, that I don't have the same clout as a cardinal. I can't just walk into a diocese and demand that they make changes. But there are things that lay people can do. There are people that, you know, Catholics can do if they see these abuses, is hold those responsible accountable for all sorts of abuses, be it at the end of the day only liturgical, or even further than that, if it actually ends up breaking laws, like the sexual abuse stuff, skimming off the donations, you know, stealing money, things like that. Hey, troll Q2RT. No, I don't agree. I don't agree with that. If lay people really want to fix the church, there are ways of doing that. It's not easy, and it does require persistence, and well, what it boils down to is that lay people need to be invested in wanting to fix the church in one way or another. The problem is also local. The problem is that a congregation in New York or a congregation in Kentucky is not the same congregation in France or the same congregation in Italy or the same congregation in Japan. So the issue is that if a congregation views their church as not their own little clubhouse, which this is the big problem that you have in many congregations. Many people view their individual parishes as little clubhouses. And they aren't really interested in the liturgical side of things. They aren't really interested in the universal church. They're interested only in their little clubhouse. What do I think about the Orthodox Church? Well, it's a church that split off from Catholicism a long time ago. There's a huge amount of overlap. Hi, Chetnik, by the way, thanks for joining the stream. There's a huge amount of overlap in terms of just the theological and dogmatic beliefs. There's very few things that differentiate Catholicism actually from Orthodox Christians. The rites are a little bit different, but again, there's a lot of similarities there. So there's actually a lot of possibility for the churches to rejoin if they put aside the old squabbles. So who knows? No, that's not true, Power Word. That's a radical traditionalism, which is heretical. Oh, stop, hetero. So, moving on. We're gonna put the religious chat to an end. Actually, I will say one more thing. If you really want to learn a lot about Catholicism, I highly recommend looking up on YouTube Bishop Barron and his whole series of Word on Fire. It's actually incredibly educational. He talks so much about the theology and philosophy and history of the church, and he has a very academic approach to teaching the church. So teaching the church, history and values and theology and things of that nature. So I always recommend those kind of videos to like check out Word on Fire. It's very, very educational. But moving on, I want to talk about a couple things as I tried for like the past half hour about the stuff that I missed over the past 2 days that I wasn't able to do a stream. One thing that happened was, again, I talked a little bit about the censorship that happened. Sidney Powell was suspended on Twitter, and she got reinstated again. It wasn't a permanent suspension. It was just like they were just harassing her, And this is a big problem in general with social media, like we've been talking about before, with Twitch banning, Twitch and Reddit and some other platforms all coordinating together, banning conservative accounts. I mean, that's tantamount for me. It's tantamount to election interference. Well, see, generally speaking, that may be the case, hetero. But the thing is, if you're a Christian and if you believe that Christ is the Son of God, logically, wouldn't it make sense for you to follow the church that he founded? Hey, Mark. Why aren't I at work like a good wage slave? COVID. That's pretty much it. Coof. Yeah. Don't think I'm not trying, spooks. Anyways, moving on. So I would say that the sort of stuff that social media doing is tantamount to election interference. Twitter has been just going crazy with labeling tweets that Trump has been doing, and that's highly inappropriate in my opinion. So I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think that's a good idea for these social media platforms to do that at all. I wanted to give an update on Parler because if people recall, a couple days ago there was kind of a big deal that happened because an individual was asking questions about the Parler's terms of service, and the CEO himself, John Matsey, replied regarding that. It seemed, it may seem like it's on that track, Mark, that it may implode. I don't know if it will, though. Excuse me, gotta drink some more coffee. There we go. I'm on the fence. It is censorious, yes. I'm on the fence about Parler. I don't know if I want to keep my account on there for, like, I'm keeping it for now. But I don't know if I'm gonna stay on that account. I'm gonna stay on that platform. I don't know if I'm gonna keep that account because the problem is you had the censorship that's happening there. You had John Matsey, which just because he was questioned about the terms of service, censored, deleted a guy's post and banned him. I don't think that's appropriate. at all. So I don't know. Parler has been seeing a surge of users come from Twitter because of the censorship that Twitter is doing and the interference, election interference. I view that they're doing. So I see how I do see why people are trying to migrate to a different account. Gab has kind of gives people a sour taste in their mouth because of Andrew Torba. He's kind of his own worst enemy when it comes to his platform. Well, yeah, that's true. Spooky is a furry, so I don't even know why I'm debating him. But anyway. I'm kidding, okay? I don't know about that, Ambassador of Chat, because I don't know if I would just get off a platform because you can get banned off a platform. I think the biggest issue here isn't necessarily being banned. The issue is the reasoning behind it, how the terms of service is applied, if it's applied evenly or not. And that's I'm not a Jew. I don't know why you people keep saying that. And you're right, Power Word. The fact that Twitter, for example, just keeps making up their own. Well, see, the issue that I have, Power Word, isn't so much that. I know that they'll make up their own rules. My issue is that if you're going to lay down the terms of service and claim impartiality and claim that you're not censoring and claim that you're not going after a group of people, that's where I get upset. Because if Jack Dorsey would come out and say, yeah, we're a liberal platform, we don't want conservatives on there. Well, because you can't control another platform. If Gab can even ban people if they wanted to. Parler can ban people. And Parler, in some cases, you had a bunch of trolls. You had a bunch of people that purposely created Parler accounts to mess with the MAGA folks, quote unquote, their own words. And Parler purged those accounts. And in my opinion, they in that particular case, because these accounts were not created to be part of that platform. They're created to abuse it and to attack its users. I haven't been banned. They are. Those Ted Cruz accounts are kind of funny, yeah. No, I mean, what it boils down to is this. I demand. I not demand. You're making me misspeak while I'm reading your stuff. Well, in a way, I kind of agree, Ambassador. Actually, in a way, I kind of agree. As long as they are following what free speech is, then to an extent I agree. If they want to go on and say stupid things, as long as it's within the bounds of free speech, then they technically should be allowed. But at the same time, if you want a platform to grow, you have to have some sort of order. I'm not. I'm. Hey, it's my stream. I can pronounce people's names however I want. I don't even call Spooky by his full name. I call him Spooks. So, my stream, my rules. No, you're not the boss of me. Anyway, so. So that's the problem, is that it is a balance that needs to be struck, and I think Parler is not really doing a great job at it. And the fact is, I asked him a question directly, like, what the biggest problem with Parler isn't so much that, actually. The terms of service says that, they can charge their users for legal defenses. And that seems a bit strange the way it's worded. I looked at the terms of service. It's a little strange. I'm not a big fan of Parler. Parler in general is also a buggy platform. It doesn't work very well. The character count is messed up. All the different kind of badges that you can get aren't entirely clear as well on how you can get those badges. So I don't know. Yeah, I talked about that, Mark, at the very beginning of my stream. Another interesting thing that happened while I was not streaming is that Iran put out a warrant for the arrest of Trump. Because he killed Soleimani. Which, ask any Iranian that has had any experience with their government. They were happy to see this guy get killed. And Iran wants to put some sort of authority over it, like they have any jurisdiction about that. This is a joke. This is an absolute joke from Iran. I mean, these people are ridiculous. There is no way they can even enforce that. It's just this political posturing which is going to fail miserably on the side of Iran. They're not doing themselves any favors. I don't personally know any Iranian officials. I don't know what you're talking about. Jameel Hill was also in the news because conservatives. This is the funny thing. There's this whole cancel culture going on. Obviously, everybody knows about that. That's not anything unusual, but it's pretty funny when you see conservatives jump on. Hey, cleric, how you doing? Welcome to the stream. I find it humorous when if a conservative has an actual legitimate complaint about someone and they try and use the same tactics that the left use about cancel culture, somehow it's not legit. But if the left does it, oh, it's absolutely legit. Okay, fine. So it's really ridiculous, like all the crap and garbage that Jameel Hill has said on ESPN. I think she lost her job on ESPN. I don't think she's on ESPN anymore. I could be wrong on that one. I haven't looked into her because I honestly don't care. Her opinions are horrible. She's a racist. She is very much anti-American and all the crap that she spouts. So I have very little sympathy for her. And I have no interest in her. And if she isn't on TV anymore, I don't really care. Honestly. Another thing that happened in the past couple of days was that the Supreme Court struck down Louisiana law regulating abortion clinics. And this happened for, because John Roberts. What else is new? John Roberts, this guy has been a pox on the Supreme Court. This guy, if I'm not mistaken, was appointed by W. And he has done nothing but make this stupid decision over stupid decision over stupid decision. Even contradicting himself, like in this particular case, if I'm not mistaken, he actually contradicted himself. Because this kind of was a reemergence of a previous case that he dissented on. And now he flip-flopped and switched on. Because politics. And this is a big problem when it comes to the Supreme Court and judges in general. I feel that there are way too many activist judges. There are way too many judges that don't apply the law, but they apply their own ideologies, and that's a very bad thing. So let's see what Power Word is saying here. For real, for a second here, Abyss, why do you base what you think in their mentality? she's a racist and shit is very beta blue pilled, and every time you say shit like that, you're legitimizing the other side's usage by giving what? Giving the word racist power. Okay. Well, let me address that by saying this. First of all, racist, the word racist is a legitimate word, first of all. There are people who are racist. There are people who discriminate solely based on the fact that they have a different skin tone or ethnicity. Or what have you. That exists. Can you play Wu-Tang in the background of the stream? I would love to play music in the background of my stream, but the problem is that YouTube would probably copyright strike me and make it so nobody can see my stream. And that's true, Mark. Most people don't. Most people don't give a crap about it. Daily reminder to ignore women. I'll keep that in mind. But anyways, well, you know, I think that nowadays you can't. I think you can find racists nowadays. I mean, like people like Jameel Hill, or people online when they're saying they wanna kill white people. You have that in South Africa too. And you have different people, you know, different groups of people that discriminate against different groups of people. This exists, but it's a very individual thing. And I do think that racism as it is interpreted today, I do think that it's relatively a modern interpretation. No, I think it exists both ways, but I think that, you know, to claim that racism is a one-way road, that's only white people can be racist like some have claimed, I think that's wholly incorrect. Racism exists, and it exists on any side of the spectrum. That's really what it boils down to. What? Hi, intruder. What? I am not aware of this kitty lore. What's going on there? I don't. So I mean, the reason why, if I say that someone is racist, like Jameel Hill, when she actually says things that the only basis of her argument is that, whitey. I'm sorry, that's racist. So I am going to use that terminology. And if they're gonna apply that rule to people like me, like if the left is going to apply that rule to me, I'll be damned if I don't apply it back to them. There's not going to be a double standard here where they can apply it to me, but somehow I can't apply it to them. No. Which is my whole argument about, you know, this cancel culture. It's okay when they do it, but the right can't do it. It's okay when they want to use violence, but the right can't do it. It's okay when they discriminate, but the right can't do it, or conservatives can't do it. So that's what I mean. It's the double standard that I have an issue with. And if their standard is you can't do this, like blackface, for example. It's perfectly okay for Justin Trudeau to be in blackface. It's perfectly okay with what's his face from Virginia, the governor, who wore a KKK hood and or blackface. and is okay with murdering babies postpartum, it's okay for them to put blackface on. They didn't go after Jimmy Kimmel as much as they did with Roseanne, for Roseanne merely saying something. And it was even a mistake that Roseanne did, because she didn't even know that that person had any sort of ethnic tie to African Americans or what have you. I know they don't think like me, which is why you have to hold them to their own standards. That's the best way. The best way to, in my opinion, to fight them is that you have to hold them to their own standards. If they set a standard for themselves, you should hold them to that standard. If blackface is so evil, which I don't agree with blackface, let me be clear on that. I'm not saying you should just go around putting on blackface or anything like that. But I'm saying if they say that blackface is so evil that you can't even discuss it, like Megyn Kelly did, and she got canceled, essentially. But Sarah Silverman can do it. Jimmy Kimmel can do it. Justin Trudeau can do it. Governor, whatever his face is, can do it. I can't remember his name off the top of my head right now. So I'm sorry. That's the thing for me. It's like if you're gonna put a standard down on something that's not good, then guess what? Either you stick to that standard and you force them to stick to their own standard, or you just show them how ridiculous that standard is, which is why I hold them to that standard. No, I don't act like they have a moral code. I'm just saying this is what they claim. This is their standard. This is the banner that they wave. And if that's the hill that they're gonna climb up, that's the hill that they're gonna have to die on. That's what it boils down to. That to me is what it boils down to. I don't think that, but they do. They very much do, because, and you know why it does? It counts because it shows how contradictory their standards are. They can't even keep their standards straight. I don't know what you're talking about, alt-right. I don't know what that refers to. Excuse me. I'm not trying to convince them. I'm not trying to convince them. All I'm trying to do is point out. I'm only pointing out the obvious. And to me, the best disinfectant is the sun. You know, putting things out in the open is the best form of disinfectant and transparency, and showing like the flaws of certain ideologies. That's all I'm doing. And what people want to do with that, if what people want to do with that is up to them. That's an interesting question, alt-right. There has been some debate about that. Some people feel that Trump shouldn't be using too heavy a hand because it'll be very bad optics, while other people are fed up and they just want him to go full hog into this whole scenario and stop everything. I think that he's been taking some steps in the right direction. I feel that he is kind of letting the left put themselves in a very bad light. And I don't know if that's necessarily the right approach. I don't know if I agree with that, Power Word, because if you look at the polls and you look at like that walk away movement, you have had a shift a big shift in demographics. There are some recent polls, for example, that show that Trump's approval rating for like African American communities, for example, vacillates between like the 35 to 41%. And they've been doing some number crunching, and they think that at minimum he could get at least 20% of the black vote, for example. So pointing out the hypocrisy, pointing out the double standard, and just presenting these facts to communities that it does matter. It really does matter. Because if you open up the eyes of people, you talk to them. I don't expect to change people's minds when I talk to them. I don't talk to people to change their minds. But when I just talk because I think I talk about this kind of stuff because I feel that it's worth speaking about. And I feel that if someone is willing to listen, then perhaps there's going to be some people that'll look at that information and think about it, plant a seed. No, I don't think there's going to be any voting on DC becoming a state. I haven't heard of anything like that. I don't know if the plan is to let the country burn for votes. All I can say is that it passed in Congress. I had no idea, but it's not going to pass the Senate. It's in the Constitution that the DC can't be a state. I don't recall that specifically, Cleric, but I don't see, I don't see any reason for DC to be a state because it's only a political ploy. It's essentially the equivalent of gerrymandering. Okay, cool. No, I believe you, Cleric. I don't recall exactly where that is. So that's the whole problem with the Democrats right now. Oh! That actually reminds me. Before I conclude the stream, because we've been already going at it for like 2 hours. Okay. There is an article that I wanted to bring up. I saw this. Hannity post this. I don't really watch Hannity. I don't really follow him too much. But I saw this post and I thought it was interesting because it was an article. It's not by him. It's by Jeffrey Lord, if I'm not mistaken. I don't even know who this individual is. Who Jeffrey Lord is. But he put up an article here. And I'm going to read a little bit of it to you because I think that it's quite a fascinating read. And it talks a little bit about the history of the Democrat Party. So what he said, what the title of this article is it time to disband the Democratic Party? And he has a subheader there that says, isn't time perhaps past time to disband and abolish the Democratic Party and start over? And this is his argument. Now I'm going to go through this. It's kind of long, so I'm going to power through this relatively quickly. And then I'm going to kind of put my 2 cents in on it. So he says, in the midst, this was, by the way, this was published on July 1st. So this was published yesterday. In the midst of all these statue pulling downs, with Speaker Nancy Pelosi removing portraits of her predecessors as Speaker and demanding that various statues lining the halls of the U.S. Capitol be removed, it is clearly the moment to ask, is it time to disband the Democrats, to abolish the Democratic Party outright? After all, the portraits Pelosi removed were all Democrats. So too are those depicted in the statues she once ousted. But of course, there was a reason. Way back there in the ancient days of 2008, I took a detailed look at the Democratic Party's record on race. It ran in the American Spectator with the title Democrats, the Missing Years. The Wall Street Journal picked up the piece as well. I wrote this piece because, and this is, I'm just reading the article here. I wrote this piece because as a Democratic convention that nominated Senator Barack Obama was gathering, the Democratic National Committee had dedicated a portion of their website to recounting the party's history. Except, well, the DNC's account was missing a lot. Not to mention was it deliberately and decidedly falsely trying to cast the Democrats as the party of civil rights. Clearly, it was time to set the record straight, which I did. Here are a few excerpts. So what's missing? There is no reference to the number of Democrat Party platforms supporting slavery. There were 6, from 1840 to 1860. There is no reference to the number of Democratic presidents who owned slaves. There were 7, from 1800 to 1861. There is no reference to the number of Democratic Party platforms that either supported segregation outright or were silent on the subject. There were 20, from 1868 to 1948. There is no reference to Jim Crow, as in Jim Crow laws, nor is there reference to the role Democrats played in creating them. These were the post-Civil War laws passed enthusiastically by Democrats in that pesky 52-year part of the DNC's missing years. These laws segregated public schools, public transportation, restaurants, restrooms, and public places in general. Everything from water coolers to beaches. The reason civil rights heroine Rosa Parks became famous is that she sat in the front of a white-only bus. The whites-only designation was a direct result of the Democrats. There is no reference to the information of the Ku Klux Klan, which according to Columbia University historian Eric Foner became, quote, a military force serving the interests of the Democratic Party. Nor is there a reference to the University of North Carolina historian Alan Trelease's description of the Klan as the terrorist arm of the Democratic Party. Sounds very familiar, doesn't it, with Antifa? There is no reference to the fact Democrats opposed the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments to the Constitution. The 13th banned slavery, the 14th effectively overturned the infamous 1857 Supreme Court Dred Scott case, made by Democrat pro-slavery Supreme Court justices, by guaranteeing due process and equal protection to former slaves. The 15th gave Black Americans the right to vote. There is no reference to the fact Democrats opposed the Civil Rights Act of 1866. It was passed by the Republican Congress over the veto of Democratic President Andrew Jackson. The law was designed to provide blacks with the right to own private property, sign contracts, sue, and serve as witnesses in legal proceedings. There's no reference to the Democrats' 1904 platform, which devotes a section to sectional and racial agitation, claiming the GOP's protests against segregation and the denial of voting rights to blacks sought to revive the dead and hateful race and sectional animosities in any part of our common country, which in turn means confusion, the distraction of business, and the reopening of wounds now happily healed. There is no reference to 4 Democrat platforms from 1908 to 1920 that are silent on blacks' segregation, lynching, and voting rights as racial problems in the country mount. By contrast, the GOP platforms of those years specifically address rights of the Negro. 1908 opposed lynchings in 1912, 1920, 1924, 1928, and as the New Deal kicks in, speaks about the dangers of making blacks wards of the state. There is no reference to the DNC-sponsored Democrat Convention of 1924, known to history as the Klan Bake, A 103 ballot convention was held in Madison Square Garden. Hundreds of delegates were members of the Ku Klux Klan. The Klan so powerful that a plank condemning Klan violence was defeated outright. To celebrate, the Klan staged a rally with 10,000 hooded Klansmen in a field in New Jersey, directly across the Hudson from the site of the convention. Attended by hundreds of cheering convention delegates, the rally featured burning crosses and called for violence against African Americans and Catholics. That's right, the Ku Klux Klan had issues with Catholicism as well. There is no reference to the fact that it was Democrats who segregated the federal government of the United States, specifically at the direction of President Woodrow Wilson upon taking office in 1913. There is a reference to the fact that President Harry Truman integrated the military after World War II. There is a reference to the fact that Democrats created the Federal Reserve Board, passed a labor and child welfare laws, and created Social Security with Wilson's New Freedom and FDR's New Deal. There is no reference these programs were created as the result of an agreement to ignore segregation and the lynching of blacks. Neither is there a reference to the thousands of local officials, state legislators, U.S. congressmen, and U.S. senators who were elected as supporters of slavery and then segregation between 1800 and 1965. Nor is there reference to the deal with the devil that left segregation and lynching as a way of life in return for election support for three post-Civil War Democrat presidents: Grover Cleveland, Woodrow Wilson, and Franklin Roosevelt. There is no reference that 3/4 of the opposition to the 1964 Civil Rights Bill in the U.S. House came from Democrats, or that 80% of the nay vote on the bill in the Senate came from Democrats. Certainly, there is no reference to the fact that the opposition included future Democratic Senate leader Robert Byrd of West Virginia, a former Klan member, and Tennessee Senator Albert Gore Sr., father of the future Vice President Al Gore. Last but certainly not least, there is no reference to the fact that Birmingham, Alabama Public Safety Commissioner Bull Connor, who infamously unleashed dogs and fire hoses on civil rights protesters, was in fact, yes indeed, both a member of the Democrat National Committee and the Ku Klux Klan. Now, of course, all the history of judging and punishing by skin color has now morphed into so-called identity politics, the son of segregation and grandson of slavery. The Democrats, past and very much present, are the party of race. Pelosi's removal of portraits of 4 of her predecessors, not to mention various statues, is a quiet admission that all of them were, yes indeed, the leaders of the Democratic Party. The move by Princeton University to remove President Woodrow Wilson's name from the university's public policy school is a quiet admission that Wilson, a former Princeton president elected as the Democratic governor of New Jersey, and who, as the leader of the progressive movement that was at the core of the Democratic Party, was indeed a serious racist. Which is exactly why Wilson was so at home as both prominent member and leader of the Democratic Party. So as the statues come down and the portraits of Democrats are removed, the obvious question, is it time, perhaps past time, to disband and abolish the Democratic Party and start over? Just asking. So that's the article. Okay. Let me take a sip of my coffee. So that's the entire article. Now, this is, it's an interesting look at the history of the Democrat Party, and this has been brought up before. This isn't the first time I've read things about this. I've looked into this. You've had like Dinesh D'Souza talk about the great lie, this great switch that's happened in the parties where, the Dixiecrats and these the old party have created this illusion that the Republicans were the ones that were racist, which wasn't the case. I mean, the Republican Party was created on the abolishing of slavery. That I don't know about that power word. I don't know if that's the case. All I can say is I do find it interesting that it's coming back up. So all I'm saying is I find it interesting that this article came up, especially from Hannity posting it, because he's a pretty big he has a pretty big following. Yeah, but that's a lie. There was no Dixiecrat flight to the out of the Democrat Party. That never happened. In fact, up until recently, the only person that moved over to the Republicans was Strom Thurmond. So technically speaking, that never happened. I'm sorry, Troll CC66. That's not the case. It's a big lie that's been told about what the Democrat Party is about. Now, I personally have been very harsh on, and I admit that I've been very harsh on my judgment of the Democrats in general, not so much on their history, because the history will speak for itself, and I'm not too interested in that. Um, what I'm more interested in is what's happening present day with the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party is going through what I feel is a giant transformation, and it's basically leaving behind what these quote unquote democratic ideals were, um, ignoring the history. It's turned into a socialist party. It's turned into radicalism. It's turned into anti-Americanism. It's turned into I've called the Democrats in the past a domestic terrorist group, and it may be harsh, but I feel that the party itself really is not pro-America in any shape, way, or form. I mean, they want to disband any sort of borders. They want to disband any sort of law and order. They want to create an entire welfare state. I'm sure there's part of that power word, but what's going on to me, I'm talking more just about the policy statements and the stances of the Democratic Party at this point. Um, they're trying to rewrite history. They've been lying to their communities. They're lying about their history. There's a lot of problems with the Democrat Party. And I'm not saying that the Republicans are saints. I'm not saying that the Republicans are much better. What I am saying, though, is that to pretend that the Democrats are somehow wanting to better America by causing so much damage to it with their policies, economic damage, foreign policy damage. Um, just look at all the states where you have Cuomo putting COVID people in old homes and old people homes, decimating a senior population of their state and their cities. Look at Governor Whitmer, who did the same thing. No, I'm not saying that punished monkey. Stop that. um, she wanted to ban certain treatments because Trump said it was a treatment. Not because there was any real scientific basis behind her decision. I don't like Trump. He said this is a treatment. We're not going to do it. So we'll just let people from Michigan die. We'll let Michigan citizens die. Please. So they wanna eliminate borders. Um they wanna they it's just nearly all of the stances that the Democrats are taking now are so extreme that one can't help but wonder what the hell is going on. And I know that at the end of the day, it boils down to they want a fundamental change in our country. They view the country as evil. They view America as evil. They view America as immoral. They view the country as built on a foundation of oppression, injustice, what have you. They've gone through all these talking points. I don't agree with that because it's just not the case. And that's the problem too, Push the Monkey. People aren't people aren't really pushing back. Now you for the longest time you haven't had conservatives pushing back. Now you're starting to see conservatives pushing back. A lot in the past has been just talk. And then the Republicans, as I said, they're not really that far removed from the Democrats. They're all what's happening here isn't so much a Democrat versus Republican thing. It's an elites versus the people thing. That is what's really happening in this country. That's at least my interpretation of it. It's not so much, like I mentioned, Democrat versus Republican. You have an elite that is in power. You have an elite on both sides, Republican and Democrats, who want to hold on to that power with all their might. And they don't want to give that up. And you have now then the people here that are under the heel of these elites, be it in politics, be it in the media, be it in Hollywood, that are trying to subjugate the rest of the population. And they're using every tactic you can imagine. They're using ideological warfare, psychological warfare. They're using the media to try and influence people. They're trying to use movies to try and influence people. They're trying to, for decades, since the 1960s till present, they've been using academia to influence generation upon generation upon generation. And they also use violence. You have Antifa out there going around doing all sorts of crazy stuff. You have Black Lives Matter as an organization that have explicitly said that they are trained Marxists. Porn as well, yeah, I'm sure. They're using everything in their power. They're using everything in their power to try and peel away at society, divide and conquer as much as possible. So, what it boils down to me isn't so much should we, like the article says, should we get rid of the Democrat Party? I don't think removing the party is going to resolve anything, because the people that are involved in one party or both parties, they're going to still be there. Just because you remove the title of Democrat or the title of Republican or whatever, that's not going to change anything. Those people that are in the Senate right now, and those people that are in the House of Representatives, in the Supreme Court, in the executive branch, in local, state, regional governments, the governors of states, you somehow disband the Democrat Party or even the Republican Party, let's just for the sake of argument, you do that, guess what? It's not going to change anything. It's really not going to change anything. The only way to really change something is to actually get involved in politics, which is a double-edged sword, because once you're in that world, it's very difficult to make real change happen, because you're besieged by all the forces and lobbyists and money and corruption, and it's just it's a shitstorm, frankly. Punished Monkey saying, Abyss, real question here. Do you understand that everyone here is conservative leaning and you're preaching to the choir, right? Yeah, I know. But I'm just putting it out there as a matter of record. I'm not trying to convince you guys. And I'm not trying to convince anybody. Like I said, I'm just expressing my opinion. Pardon me. And if people outside of the circle and replays, because like on Periscope, I get a good amount of replays. So I hope that I get a wider reach eventually, and I hope that whatever I say is beneficial. And so I don't know. I just throw it out there. Yeah, believe it or not, I take a look at my replays, and I've had some interesting numbers when it comes to replays on there. I don't know exactly what that means in terms of the Periscope analytics, because it's not explicit in what they're referring to when it talks about replay, because I don't know if they've seen the entire thing, or like what's the minimum number of minutes that gets labeled as a replay. I don't know. I imagine there's a minimum number. I guess. I can only guess. But it's 12 o'clock. I want to eat lunch, and I want to thank everybody for watching. We're going to call it a night. Well, not call it a night. We're going to call it a day. Tonight, there is another episode of The Abyss, my weekly stream. We're going to be far more interactive. People want to call in, you can. I wish I had 6 million views. That would be awesome. I don't know, because like YouTube, for example, you can't just click and get a view. BitChute does that. If you just click, it does view it as a view. But other platforms, they actually track. But I want to thank everybody for watching. Come back tonight, The Abyss at call in, Punish Monkey. Go ahead. I appreciate that. I appreciate people interacting and calling in. 8 p.m. tonight, my weekly episode, the more interactive and fun version of The Abyss here. And again, follow on all my platforms. Subscribe if you want to support streamlabs.com/theeternalabyss. And remember, kids, as always, I'm going to sign off with my usual sign off here. Remember, don't be complacent. You can't do that. So I hope everyone had a great time at the stream. Take it easy.